Before a child ever steps foot in a classroom, they have already learned the world from their mother's lap. Long ago, in a village where the harmattan wind carved truth into people's bones, there lived a man with two wives and two households. Folks whispered that he was blessed, but Aunt Nancy, sitting on her stone window ledge with frost in her locks, said he was walking toward a lesson he was not ready to learn. His first wife, Ama Serwa, was soft-spoken, gentle, calm as morning porridge. Her home was modest, her pots never full, and her clothes simple. But her hands, strong. Her spirit, steady. And the two children she raised, a boy and a girl, carried respect as naturally as breath. They bowed to elders, they helped neighbors, they knew how to listen. The entire village said, "Those children have been taught." Across the village sat the second household, larger, louder, full of money and noise. The second wife, Ifua, was beautiful like heat lightning and sharp like a broken bottle. She loved only herself and made it clear that softness, patience, and discipline were things for fools. She had three children, two boys and a girl, and though their father sent them to the best schools, they carried no wisdom home, no manners, no grounding, no respect. They walked past elders without greeting, talked back to teachers, and mocked their father openly. Still, the man believed Ifua was the queen of his wealth because she bore the most children, and so he poured the majority of his resources into her house. Her house gleamed. Her wrappers were expensive. Her nails and hair were always done. The children ate foreign snacks, while Ama Serwa's children shared small meals and gave thanks anyway. The elders watched in silence. Aunt Nancy watched from the shadows. One harmattan evening, as the sky turned gold and the fires flickered in both homes, Aunt Nancy whispered to her spider, "A mother shapes the heart, a father shapes the roof, but this man thinks the roof is more important than the heart." She shook her head, and such men learn their lessons late. As the months passed, the imbalance between the two homes grew clearer. In the second household, Ifua's children grew like weeds, tall and fast, but with no guidance, no discipline, no root. Their father, blinded by beauty and the illusion of abundance, ignored the warnings. Whenever the elders mentioned the children's disrespect, he waved it off with, children will grow out of it. Whenever a teacher complained, he said, "They go to the best school. That is enough." Whenever his mother cautioned him, he said, "Ifua is doing her best." But she was not. She was doing nothing at all. Meanwhile, in Amaserwa's quiet home, her two children read by lantern light, prayed before eating, swept their compound, fetched water for their grandmother, and sat with their mother as she taught them how to speak kindly, how to move with intention, how to honor elders, how to see people's hearts. No shouting, no chaos, no entitlement, just slow, steady shaping of character. One afternoon, all the elders gathered in the courtyard for a naming ceremony. Children from both households were there. Ifua's three children ran wild, knocking over gourds, pushing other children, talking back to adults. One child even snatched cola from an elder's plate. The courtyard went silent. But Amaserwa's two children walked up, bowed deeply, picked up the fallen items, apologized, even though they weren't at fault, and asked how they could help. The elders looked at the father looked at the elders, and shame crept into his bones for the first time. That night, he went to Afua's house and found her painting her nails while her children screamed at each other. "You do not teach them," he said quietly. She scoffed. "I am not their teacher. School will teach them." Aunt Nancy, perched on the window, laughed so hard her spider web shook. "Hear that foolishness," she whispered. "School will teach them? Even a goat knows its mother teaches it to walk. But the father still did not understand. He simply walked away, the doubt following him like a shadow. The breaking point came suddenly. One of Ifua's sons insulted an elder in the marketplace, loudly, publicly, with no shame. The elder, respected across the region, walked straight to the father's home and said, "Your children dishonor you because they were never taught." The father felt something collapse inside him. That night, he visited Ama Serwa's quiet household. Her children were helping her prepare soup. They greeted him warmly, offered him water, and continued their tasks. The daughter washed his hands gently. The son fanned the fire without being asked. Tears gathered in the corner of the father's eyes. "How did you teach them so well?" he whispered. Ama Serwa looked at him with tired kindness. "I taught them because I love them, and I love them because that is who I am. A woman does not teach by shouting. She teaches by living." She paused. "Your other children did not learn because their mother did not teach them." Aunt Nancy, watching from the window, whispered, "And now the harvest arrives." The father tried to repair Ifua's household. He tried to discipline her children. He tried to correct years of neglect in a single month. But character is like clay, soft when shaped early, but hard as stone when ignored too long. His attempts collapsed. Ifua mocked him. Her children dismissed him. His authority meant nothing. And so the man returned to Serwa's modest home, not because he deserved comfort, but because he needed truth. He knelt. "You were the real blessing," he said. "I did not see it." Ama Serwa touched his shoulder without softness. "It is not enough to see late. Some lessons cost what you cannot get back." The wind shifted. Snow began falling. Aunt Nancy tapped the window. "Let every man hear this," she said as she vanished into the night. "A mother is the first teacher. A house rises or falls by her hand, and a blind man who favors beauty over wisdom will live long enough to regret it." "Now you see," she whispered to her spider, "what happens when a boy grows up without a mother to teach him truth. He becomes a man who thinks effort is optional, gratitude is extra, and a woman's heart is indestructible." Inside the house, the good wife stood tall, not loud, not cruel, not vengeful, just finished. And there is nothing more powerful or more terrifying than a woman who is finished. Her husband, blind and arrogant for years, trembled now like a child who finally understood the test was never multiple choice, only pass or fail. And he had failed spectacularly. She lifted her chin, eyes steady. "I will not bend," she said. "I will not shrink myself so you can feel tall. And I will not raise children in a house where their father confuses noise for leadership." Aunt Nancy grinned. "Yes, child, speak the lesson he mama never taught him." The elders gathered. The women nodded. Even the spirits leaned closer, recognizing the shift in the air. When the good wife requested that the marriage be dissolved, the room fell into a heavy silence. Not scandal, respect. Aunt Nancy said softly, "Sometimes a man must lose the home he neglected to understand what home truly is." And then, this is the part Ghanaian men never expect, the line began. Not for lust, not for possession, but for honor. Men of standing, men of quiet strength, men who carried themselves with discipline and devotion. They appeared like the ancestors had whispered her name into their dreams. Because when a woman has dignity, discipline, softness, and fire, divine masculine recognizes her instantly. And her ex-husband? He watched from the shadows, finally understanding the truth Aunt Nancy had been screaming through the window all along. You lost her not because you were poor, but because you were unteachable. Aunt Nancy tapped the window frame twice. Maybe next life, she said, you will be born to a mother who teaches you how to love, how to listen, and how to lead. She smiled as the good wife walked into her new future, confident, chosen, and finally seen. Let all boys hear this tale, Aunt Nancy declared. A mother is the first teacher, but a woman is the last test.